Welcome to Washington in Focus Daily. It is Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. I'm Carlene Johnson, the Center Square's state government reporter. And in today's episode, the latest on the tragic chemical plant implosion in Longview, the Nippon pulp and paper mill facility, and what Labor and Industries has investigated in the past there. We'll have an exclusive interview that I had last night also with Senator Jeff Wilson. That is his district. He's got a son actually that works at the plant, and he has a very unique perspective on what has happened there to his very close knit community. Keeping in Longview, interestingly enough, the school board there, the board of directors, had a meeting last night. It was the first meeting that they've had since the arrest last week of their district superintendent, who is accused of obstructing an investigation into alleged sexual assaults involving the boys' basketball team. Members of the public, some of them parents in that school district, gave the board an earful. Several in a row actually called on those board members to resign on the spot. None did, but we're going to share with you some of what I witnessed last night. I took part in that meeting just via Zoom. And then the first week of signature gathering for the initiative that hopes to repeal the newly passed income tax is a record breaker. An update from Let's Go Washington on how that effort is going, as they have just now 36 days from today to turn all of those petitions into the Secretary of State in hopes of getting this qualified for the November ballot. Now, although the official death toll from Tuesday's implosion involving a vat of chemical treatment product at the Nippon facility in Longview still stands at one officially, I spoke with a state senator last night who is privy to some other information, and it is confirmed that at least 5 others are known to be dead, with 3 more still missing and presumed dead. So at this point, it appears the death toll will be 9. We have at least 9 others hospitalized, some with very serious chemical burns. Now, this Nippon facility in Longview produces paper products like tissue, printing paper, and other things like that. And Senator Jeff Wilson of Longview told me in an interview last night, which he phoned me up after he had gotten an update from the latest press briefing from Longview Fire. The governor was there, even Senator Patty Murray showed up, and he attended that briefing and then gave me a phone call to give me an update. And again, while you'll see other news outlets saying the official death toll is 1 with all those others missing, he said they have confirmed from video drone that those others are dead. 6 confirmed dead and 3 others missing and presumed dead. As of this Wednesday afternoon, those state officials have not been able to get close enough to the tank and the sort of debris area to be able to recover those who are lost and perhaps recover the 3 missing individuals who are presumed to be dead. But Senator Wilson said he can't begin to imagine how this could have happened. He, as a contractor, worked on that Nippon site for about 26 years, he said. He's very familiar with many of the people that work there. He says safety protocols are taken very seriously. His son actually works on that site. Thankfully, was not anywhere near the disaster that happened on Tuesday morning. But he shared that Longview, being a small community, is a town where most everybody knows somebody who works there. That's the situation. So he said this is absolutely going to have a devastating impact on the community. So here's part of my conversation with Senator Jeff Wilson, Republican from Longview, on Tuesday evening.
I can tell you the many years that I've worked here, sometimes 7 days a week. The company that I owned was a service contractor. We took care of these things for them, cleaning lines, and it's a very large site. There's no way I have never seen a tank rupture that was holding any kind of liquor like this on its own. And I say on its own, a forklift didn't drive into it, or a bulldozer didn't puncture it. And these are things of failures that you can easily identify. How did all this full tank end up leaning to one side, imploding or exploding, and then the release of the liquor, which did overrun some of their sumps at first. And that's why they did the right thing by reaching out to the other spill responders, the government agencies, to ask for help and to ensure that the local community is going to be okay. And I made a special request, of course. I was sitting next to the governor, and we both asked them to make sure to communicate with the community and ask that the community give them some time to figure it out. In other words, as I'm here now on the site, there are still many people that drive down to this facility wanting to see something, wanting to just be near the site. And we're telling people to stay away. There's nothing that they can do tonight. Their answers are well received, but we got to get time to get them their answers. But again, I worked here for many years. I know this company and these companies very well. This is not an unemotional or undisconnected community. This isn't business first. It still is about people. I know that they all care. I talked with my friends at AWPPW today. They're all accounted for. But those other employees and workers that are still gone, they're not going to come home tonight ever. And I think that that's the seriousness that will tell everybody we better figure out what caused this so it can never happen again.
Now, a few hundred people attended a candlelight vigil at 8 o'clock last evening. It was at R.A. Long Park to honor those, killed and injured and still unaccounted for on very short notice. About 300 people showed up here at this gathering at the park. And Senator Wilson told me it was a very moving experience, a very somber crowd, lots of people crying, some people carrying photos of those who are lost, known to be lost or unaccounted for. I can only imagine what it was like to be there. We did reach out as well today to Labor and Industries for details on any active investigations or safety concerns that they have with that Longview Nippon facility. And I received a response via email. We'll show you in part from L&I today. They said, we opened in March an investigation after an anonymous complaint about a valve on an aqua ammonia clarifier tank. It was not the same tank that imploded. The other opened, this is the other complaint, opened in May after a complaint about a sinkhole created by a failed drain. Inspections can take up to 6 months, and the results will be published after those wrap up. So there was nothing from Labor and Industries to indicate that this specific tank where the disaster happened yesterday morning, anything had been flagged there. They don't have anything like that on file, but I'm sure a lot more is going to come out in the days and weeks to come. Now, also in Longview last night, not even a community we talk about a lot, but boy, now they're in the headlines for two, pretty significant stories that have made national headlines. It was parents and community members calling on the Longview School Board of Directors to step down. They said, you must immediately step down following last week's arrest of Longview School District Superintendent Karen Cloninger in connection with the alleged cover-up. She's accused of a felony and a couple of other serious misdemeanor charges of covering up, obstructing the investigation by police into the alleged sex assault involving older boys who are accused and going to trial in July, accused of sexually assaulting, whether it's some kind of a hazing rape ritual. I've seen all kinds of references online to what this is. It is sexual assault, and you had younger boys allegedly being assaulted by older boys on the team. And the issue here is that the superintendent apparently knew, police say, that she knew, and some other district officials knew about this for about a week before they even called police. Now, you probably know that anyone in a position like this, whether it's school or a church official or a mental health counselor, doctors, they're all mandatory reporters, and they hear about anything like this, they have to immediately notify police. The contention is in this case that the superintendent and some others did not immediately report to police. So now we have the superintendent and another district official that are both facing charges, and then three other district employees are now placed on paid administrative leave for the remainder of the investigation. Some of the comments from people at the school board meeting last night were to say, hey, so wait, we're going to pay while all these people who maybe covered up this investigation and didn't take care of our kids, we're going to pay for their salaries while they get to sit at home and this investigation plays out. Many said that they wanted the school board to say this is going to be an unpaid administrative leave. I know lots of those things are, contractually uh, obligated things that are worked out with the unions well before anything like this can happen. So I doubt that will take place. But I want to put up for you here, showing you a couple of the comments. The video from the school board meeting is not yet uploaded onto the school board director's site, so I can't show you the video. I did watch the entire meeting last night, including the more than an hour long public testimony. But a couple of those folks who came up and spoke, I want you to see their comments. One said, after these lawsuits are done, which I'm sure are going to come, you have royally screwed the taxpayers within your community. It would not surprise me if the risk insurance pool drops you at this point in time. Another person said, it's absolutely crazy watching what's going on in this community, a community that I loved. And it saddens me just to even have to be here today. You think you know everything, talking again to the school board members, and all you think about is just getting elected and reelected. And then a third person came up and said, and mind you, this is only three comments of many. I really hope that everybody on the board takes an opportunity to look in the mirror and realize the grave mistakes, the lack of trust, and we have put this community through, and the students within that community as well. You're not going to resign. You're too proud. You're too narcissistic. That was another person who called on the school board members to resign on the spot. And the reason for that is because the assertion here is that the school board members found out about this many weeks ago. These alleged assaults took place in late January. Then police get involved in February. That it takes until last week before the superintendent is arrested for allegedly obstructing the investigation. But for that time between early February, when police learned of it, when one of the parents of the victims went to police, and when the school board, voted to extend the contract for the superintendent, that was months. They knew about the allegations at that point. They knew that police were also investigating the superintendent and others for supposedly not cooperating with the investigation and kind of sweeping things under the rug. And yet they extended her contract. And the board did that unanimously. And that was a lot of the criticism at the board meeting last night from folks who said, why in the world would you extend her contract when she's facing such serious allegations and now likely charges that could put her in prison? Okay, moving on to thing three in today's episode of Washington in Focus Daily. We have one week of numbers from Let's Go Washington for the initiative that hopes to repeal the recently passed and signed into law income tax in the state of Washington. The numbers are record breaking. We found out this morning that more than 92,000 Washington voters have signed petitions for the initiative to repeal the new income tax in 1 week. So that was the launch date to the first week numbers that have been totaled and turned in. Of course, you've got other petitions that are out there because you can get on their website and order petitions to be sent to you, and then get your own at your church or your neighborhood or wherever, and then send those back into Let's Go Washington. But the ones that they have tallied up in that first week are already over 92,000. Again, it's a record breaker. Not a surprise, though, for backers of the repeal effort. This is what they expected would happen, just kind of based on public sentiment since this bill was signed into law. And I spoke earlier this month with Littell with Let's Go Washington. And at that point, even before they had launched the initiative drive, he said they were being overwhelmed with folks saying, I want to get involved.
The response to the initiatives this year is unlike anything we've seen before. Last year we did Initiative 2066, which stopped the natural gas ban. And at that time, it felt like there was an overwhelming amount of support, but it's truly unprecedented. Every day when we go out and talk to people, we hear more and more stories of folks that are concerned that this is going to affect them, that this tax is going to be expanded, that they are already have plans to move out, and they say, look, I'm not going to be paying this tax right off the bat, but I know eventually it's going to come for me. And so I either need to get out or I need to do something. And so how can I help? How can I sign up? What can I do? And so we've got thousands of people who have signed up already to receive petitions, which is more than we've ever had before in any of the other initiative signing campaigns we've done. So we're pretty excited about the enthusiasm out there, and we're going to continue to build on it and let people know, eventually they're going to need to vote yes to stop the income tax, and look forward to being successful in November.
Now, Washington Governor Bob Ferguson posted on X this morning in reference to the support the initiative has received so far. Basically said, yeah, this is great. Voters are going to have a chance to weigh in. But then he went on to say, one more thing voters should know. I found this interesting. So long as I'm governor, I will veto any attempt to lower the threshold or raise the rate of this tax. We are asking those who make the most to pay a little more and providing relief to workers and small businesses. Let's keep it that way. Now, that is interesting because during the legislative session, during every debate on this, whether it was at a public hearing or whether we were attending media availabilities for those backing the income tax, we asked over and over again, will you put into this bill that the threshold won't be lowered? It'll only be folks that it'll stay the millionaire's tax. It's not going to be for somebody who makes $250,000 or $500,000. You're not going to lower it. And we were repeatedly kind of pushed off saying that's not for us to decide. Future legislators can't be bound by what, we determine. So this was the first time that the governor said this. Now, you can read into that what you will. It's likely going to be right about the time he's up for re-election that this is likely going to be going to the state Supreme Court, assuming the initiative effort is not successful or that voters decide that they like the income tax come November if the measure does qualify. So interesting though, but this was the first time the governor has come out and said he would not support a lowering of the threshold. And then a couple other numbers I want to put up for you from Let's Go Washington. And Brian Haywood posted this on X. So the actual number of signatures for the effort to repeal the income tax in 1 week was 92,780. They need they need nearly 309,000 to qualify for the November ballot. Recommended number of signatures to account for mistakes and duplicates is 380,000, but they're hoping to get 400,000 or more. And 700,000 signatures would be the number needed to break the state record for most signatures turned in. So June 20th is the deadline. They want people to turn those back in, and July 2nd is the date they'll have to drop all of those off at the office of Secretary of State Steve Hobbs so he can begin going over those petition signatures and seeing who's valid, who isn't. So that's 36 days until July the 2nd from today's date. But if the current pace of collections keeps up, it seems they will likely get this thing qualified. And then it will be up to voters in November to decide if they want the income tax or they don't. So that's it for today's episode of Washington in Focus Daily. Check out the Center Square Washington's page for these stories and more like it from my colleagues. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll tune again tomorrow.